There is a likelihood that the typical McDonald's customer would think that McDonald was the person who started the fast food business. Additionally, it would be quite possible that they would respond, Ray Kroc. Richard and Maurice McDonald were the real founders of McDonald's, even though they aren't the ones whose likenesses are etched into the plaques on the restaurant's walls. While Kroc may have expanded McDonald's to such an enormous extent that its modest beginnings were all but forgotten, it was brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald. The McDonald brothers' lives were full of achievement, which finally allowed them to enjoy luxuries like custom Cadillacs, but they were also full of disappointment and failure. By doing business with Ray Kroc, the brothers missed out on a fortune and had their legacy all but forgotten in decades. Jason French, Richard McDonald's grandson, records his grandfather remarking, "That guy really got me," when he was a teenager. Richard, Dick, and Maurice McDonald may be examples of the proverb that greatness is born out of adversity. The boys witnessed their father's struggles as children since they were born into a struggling Irish immigrant household in rural New Hampshire in the early 1990s. When he was fired after 42 years of service, their father, Patrick McDonald, was a shift manager at the 20,000-person GP Crafts shoe plant in Manchester. After decades of arduous labor, the senior McDonald was informed that he was just too elderly to perform his job, and the brothers watched as their father was forced to accept unemployment. The brothers' reaction to learning their father had been let go without a pension surely had an effect on them, and they realized that continuing to live in their New Hampshire town would not result in a better quality of life. Nick McDonald recently remembered, "We made up our minds that one way or another we'd be financially independent." However, the awful workplace scenario Dick and Maurice witnessed their father dealing with gave them the motivation they required to leave with little more than a set of high school degrees and the desire to pursue something better. They pledged to be millionaires by the age of 50, completely the opposite to where their father had been at that age, according to the New England Historical Society. The McDonald brothers weren't driven to California by dreams of hamburgers and fries. By all accounts, their entertainment enterprise failed, and only then did they decide to start a burger company. The brothers, who aspired to become directors and producers, found work at Columbia Movie Studios, cleaning up on silent movie sets for a meager $25 a week. They didn't exactly receive the kind of money that would make them billionaires, and without any upcoming opportunities for glitzy jobs in front of the camera, they decided to put up what little money they had aside and start a movie theater. The 750-seat Mission Theater, located 20 miles outside of Los Angeles, was purchased by the brothers, who later renamed it the Beacon and added a snack bar. The brothers were perpetually in financial trouble throughout the Great Depression, making the theater's inauguration in 1930 the worst possible timing. In case the bank foreclosed on the Beacon, they even buried some silver in their lawn during the hard times. The McDonald's brothers ran their movie theater for 7 years, sold it, and then decided to try their luck in the food industry. Originally, McDonald's was McDonald's Barbecue rather than just McDonald's. The brothers' San Bernardino food stand, which catered to motorists in their vehicles, adopted the practice of other eateries of the time. Even the outfits from the brothers' failing movie theater were usable for the car hops. The brothers changed their successful recipe, briefly shuttered their doors, and made some significant alterations when they reopened after realizing that hamburgers were the best-selling item. The barbecue was one of the 25 items that had been removed from the previous McDonald's menu in 1948, along with the 20 female car hops. Now, patrons were required to exit their vehicles and proceed to the counter to place their orders. People didn't like adjustments, and the once thriving firm ceased operations. When customers saw that the car hop wouldn't be coming over to collect their order, they would drive up and immediately depart. Even putting personnel in front of the shop to make you look busy didn't help much. After a few months, taxi drivers and construction workers started to trickle in, and if they hadn't, the McDonald's brothers would have failed once more. Today, the McDonald's Golden Arch emblem is a widely recognized image that entices customers to enter for some French fries or a cheap hamburger. The two golden arches were not Dick McDonald's initial concept for his restaurant. They were added only after the McDonald's brothers signed a control agreement with Kroc in 1961. At the time, roadside eateries and diners were doing everything they could to stand out from the competition and profit from the advertising on highway billboards. To create neon-trimmed golden arches that would emerge from the sides of the hamburger stand itself, Dick engaged architect Stanley Meston. Up until 1962, McDonald's had an eye-catching design that was successful when paired with its Speedy Chef mascot. One of the first things to go when the brothers sold out to Kroc was Speedy the Chef, and then Dick's cherished golden arch underwent remodeling. Each restaurant's picture was redesigned by design consultant Louis Cheskin, who doubled the M because he thought it might be used to create a Freudian pull for customers. More tragically, for Dick's initial golden arch design, Cheskin claimed that the new emblem represented Mother McDonald's breasts. We're confident it was not all what the brothers intended. There is little doubt that Ray Kroc significantly contributed to McDonald's becoming the fast food juggernaut that it is today. But in his opinion, the McDonald's brothers were essentially unimportant to the development of McDonald's. Kroc's 1970 autobiography, Grinding It Out: The Making of McDonald's, is probably the best illustration of his attempts to exclude the McDonald's brothers from McDonald's own history. The 1961 agreement between the McDonald brothers and Ray Kroc to transfer the rights of their expanding company isn't without its snags. Kroc borrowed money from a number of various sources in order to pay the brothers' $2.7 million asking price because he wanted to acquire the whole McDonald's business. In a 1973 interview with Time, he claimed, "I needed the McDonald's name and those golden arches. I asked, what are you going to do with a name like Kroc?" The brothers renamed their hamburger restaurant the Big M because they no longer controlled their own name. Even though the restaurant's name was changed, Kroc was still angry about the transaction and retaliated by building a new McDonald's a block away. The Big M stopped operating its grills after 6 years, and the brothers then sold the structure. Years later, Kroc would boast, "I ran him out of business." In 1961, selling a hamburger restaurant for $2.7 million was an extremely lucrative transaction. Everyone is aware that McDonald's is not your ordinary hamburger stand though. The inaugural franchise agreement between Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers included a $950 franchise fee, a 1.9% service fee levied on food sales, a 0.5% royalty payment to the McDonald's brothers, and the remaining 1.4% going to Kroc. By 1960, 224 McDonald's restaurants owned by Kroc were generating $56 million a year. When Kroc bought the McDonald's brothers out in 1961 for $2.7 million, he not only made himself wealthy, but also became extremely wealthy. The brothers believed that they would each have $1 million after tax. Even though it was by no means pocket change, if they had never sold the company, their 0.5% ownership would have been earning them $15 million annually by the end of the 1970s. Even more terrible are the royalties by today's standards, especially for the McDonald's brothers' descendants. A 2012 estimation discovered that the McDonald's brothers' royalty payment would have been $305 million had the 1961 purchase never taken place, giving McDonald's $61 billion in sales. The McDonald's brothers gave up on the restaurant industry after a rival McDonald's drove their establishment, the Big M, out of existence. Nick McDonald subsequently returned to his native New Hampshire because there wasn't much of a reason to stay in California any longer. He admitted, "I never liked California," in 1985. "I've never loved the sun. I'd be pleased if it rained today." Nick would finally come to terms with how Ray Kroc and McDonald's had turned out, but Maurice passed away in 1971 from heart failure. The impact of the brothers' friendship with Kroc, according to Ronald McDonald, their nephew, just wore Maurice down. Mac ended up taking it really hard, Ronald remarked, before adding that his uncle Dick had previously told him that he watched Mac being torn up until the point that he died, and I don't want that for myself. Although neither brother ever had any biological children of their own, both brothers eventually became stepfathers to children. As the jaw-dropping saga of how the McDonald's lost everything unfolds, the secrets run deep. Don't miss out on the next chapter. Subscribe now for shocking revelations and thrilling cliffhangers.